Everybody wants a Contax T2, but almost nobody wants to pay Contax T2 prices, which is totally understandable. So today I want to test something interesting. Can this tiny Pentax Espio 120Mi give a similar experience for a fraction of the price? Because honestly, from a distance, these cameras weirdly feel related. Both cameras have a premium metal body look to it, and even though the Pentax is of course not made out of titanium, it still feels pretty solid in the hand. They both have a premium compact design, a built-in flash and a 38mm focal length. But is this actually an underrated gem or just a cheap camera pretending to be something that it's not? Let's find out. The Contax T2 became legendary for a reason. Titanium body, beautiful Zeiss lens, super compact, and somehow it became this luxury film point and shoot that everyone is craving about. Instagram discovered it, YouTube discovered it, and suddenly the prices became completely ridiculous. Which is exactly why cameras like this Pentax are interesting. Because most people aren't looking for the perfect camera. They just want a compact film camera that feels premium and gives them good photos. And the Pentax Espio 120Mi might actually do that surprisingly well. When I first picked up this camera at a flea market for only $5 by the way, the first thing I noticed how nice this camera actually feels. Of course it's not like a Contax T2, even though I never held one in my hands to be honest, but with its full metal body it doesn't feel cheap either. And for taking pictures, of course, the most important part is the lens, which the Contax T2 is pretty praised about with its 38mm size lens. And that's the biggest difference between those two cameras. While the Contax T2 has a 30mm prime lens with an aperture of 2.8, which is just extremely sharp and really nice for low light scenarios, the Pentax, on the other hand, has a 38 to 120mm zoom lens, which is not ideal. Because when it comes to zoom lenses, small compact point and shoot cameras like this start getting bad. But surprisingly, after my tests, this lens is actually pretty solid. What I really love about this camera is how effortless it feels. You just carry it everywhere, take it out, shoot and move on. No overthinking, no worrying about your expensive camera like you would do with a Contax T2. Because honestly, when we think about it, these small point and shoots were made to carry around everywhere, especially on parties, everyday life, any occasion that you might think of, and you don't want to worry about them. That's why they make them so compact and inconspicuous, so you could carry them literally everywhere. But with the prices of the Contax T2, this concept doesn't make any sense anymore. Because you don't want to throw your $900 camera inside your backpack without any protection or carry it around in your pocket, because you're always scared in the back of your mind that you might end up with a very expensive paperweight. The autofocus is quick enough. The flash is surprisingly powerful for this size and looks very nice. And the zoom lens actually makes this camera more flexible than the Contax in certain situations. The Pentax provides you with some practical settings on top of the camera. First off, we have infinity focus and spot autofocus. Then we have the self timer and the remote control. We have red eye reduction for the flash. And then we have multiple flash options, so you can force the flash to fire or not to fire it. And we even have a bulb mode with flash and no flash. The buttons are really hard to press though, which I don't like. While looking through the viewfinder, you get some LEDs that showcase if the autofocus is locked in or still hunting. And the LED on the bottom is a red LED that showcases if the flash will fire off or not. To power on the camera, you flick the lever to the right and it springs back to the on position, so it has this spring mechanism that always jumps back. For the shutter button, you have the typical half press to focus and a full press to take the picture. With your right thumb you can activate the zoom of the camera, you can go to tele and wide, and it's like this typical way to zoom in. The viewfinder zooms in while you zoom and there's not really anything else. On the bottom of the camera you get this panorama switch that provides you with a mask over the shutter and also in the viewfinder, which is pretty nice to compose your pictures in camera. Now to the important part. How do the pictures actually look? and honestly better than I expected. But hear me out. With the zoom lens of the Pentax, you get a rather slow aperture starting at 4.5 at the widest end of the 38mm, and that honestly is the best focal length to stay at with this camera. As soon as you zoom in, you need a lot of bright daylight to even get a shutter speed that's fast enough so you don't get any motion blur. And even when you get a shutter speed that's fast enough, the longer focal lengths just don't perform as well as the 38mm, which is totally fine because the Contax itself always stays at this focal length anyways. I found myself using the longer focal lengths with that in mind, and while taking pictures zoomed in, I already knew that there's gonna be a more artistic, blurry outcome, so you can start getting creative with it. For example, with these sunset pictures, I really don't mind the motion blur in them, because it starts to shift your focus more on the feeling of this moment, and with colors like this, it's looking pretty anyways. In my opinion, this camera is the perfect companion for parties, everyday life, and I feel like it's important to remember while using this camera, it's less about getting an clinically sharp image, but instead you have a premium looking and compact picture taking device that is perfect to just capture memories in your everyday life. And somehow I feel like less perfect pictures with a lot of character and imperfections lets your images feel even more like memories, and I really like this about this camera. It puts even less pressure onto yourself while you're capturing beautiful moments, and exactly this effortlessness is what draws me to this camera. Now let's be realistic. This is of course not a Contax T2. The lens is of course not at all on the same level, but I feel like for, if you get lucky, $5 at a flea market, or I looked it up on eBay, they go for around $50, which I honestly think is a great deal. If you wait for longer, I'm guessing you could get that for half, for $20-30. So if you're not paying more than $50, this is definitely something to consider, because you honestly can just throw it in your bag, put a roll of film in it, and whenever you feel like you want a quick snapshot for documenting your life or anything else, this is a really fun tool which you don't have to worry about. And honestly, I'm keeping this one. I first thought I'm gonna make this video and that's it. I'm gonna sell it or forget about it. But I got really impressed. It was really fun to use, and it's just so tiny and you don't have to worry about it all that much, so it can live happily in my pocket, in my camera bag, and whenever I feel like I want to grab a quick analog shot next to my digital work, this is the perfect companion. If you compare these cameras side by side, the Contax probably wins in any type of way. But to be honest, most people don't really want or even need the premium features that the Contax T2 has, for example, manual focus, aperturing, and exposure compensation. Most people just like to have a compact, nice looking point-and-shoot camera that can deliver them this nice film aesthetic look, and this camera absolutely delivers that, especially considering the price. So, is the Pentax Espio 120Mi a real Contax T2 alternative? Well, kind of. And not because it's technically equal, but because it gives you a surprisingly similar feeling. Compact, premium looking, easy to use, beautiful, imperfect film photos. And unlike the Contax, this thing is still affordable, which honestly makes it way easier to actually enjoy. So maybe this Pentax isn't a cheap Contax alternative, maybe it's just a genuinely underrated film camera. If you watched this video until the end, I really appreciate you. If you like content about cameras, especially old film cameras, you should definitely consider subscribing, and I'm going to see you very soon in the next video. Bye!